Imagine this. You're about to experience something extraordinary tonight. We're diving into a story that will transport you to one of history's most harrowing moments. By the end of this journey, you'll have a newfound appreciation for the simple comfort of your bed. Before we begin, if these stories resonate with you, a like or subscribe would mean the world to me. I'm genuinely curious about our global community. Drop a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It amazes me how these tales reach people settling in for sleep across every continent. Now settle in. Find that perfect position. Let your breathing slow and deep. Allow your body to melt into whatever surface supports you tonight. Close your eyes and let me paint you into January 1945, deep within the snow-laden forests of eastern France. Imagine consciousness returning to you slowly, like surfacing from deep, cold water. The first sensation isn't sight or sound, it's cold. Not the kind of chill that makes you pull up a blanket, but a bone-penetrating, soul-stealing cold that seems to emanate from the very core of the earth beneath you. You're lying on ground so frozen it rivals concrete in hardness. No mattress cushions your body, no pillow cradles your head. Instead, there's dirt transformed by winter's grip into an unforgiving surface that seems designed to leach every molecule of warmth from your frame. The single wool blanket covering you tells its own story of suffering. Ice crystals have formed along its edges, and fresh snow has settled across its surface, evidence of the precious few minutes of sleep you managed to steal from this merciless night. Your clothing hasn't been changed in nearly 2 weeks. Every fibre carries the accumulated weight of war. Wool socks that haven't known dryness since Christmas Day, army-issue boots beginning their slow surrender to the elements, and layers of olive drab that have absorbed the essence of this campaign. Sweat, mud, cordite, and something else. That metallic tang of fear that every soldier learns to recognize. Your steel helmet lies beside you, a piece of metal so cold that bare skin contact would be an act of self-harm. The forest air carries its own cocktail of scents, the clean sharpness of pine, the acrid bite of gunpowder residue, and underneath it all something sweet and terrible that you've grown accustomed to despite every instinct screaming otherwise. Death has its own perfume, and you've become an unwilling connoisseur. Movement brings immediate protest from every muscle fibre. Your back, compressed against that frozen earth all night, feels as though it's been beaten with hammers. Joints refuse their basic function, locked in place by cold that has seeped through clothing, through skin, into the very marrow of your bones. Around your position, the forest whispers with the sounds of other men beginning their reluctant return to consciousness. A cough echoes from one foxhole. Muttered profanity drifts from another. Someone whispers a prayer, perhaps the most honest sound in this frozen hell. Welcome to the Colmar Pocket, my friend. You are now experiencing one of Nazi Germany's final strongholds on French soil, and your role in this drama is that of a soldier in Company B, 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, United States Army. The mathematics of war have been unkind to your unit. Days ago, over 100 men called Company B home. Now, barely 40 souls remain to answer morning roll call. Your journey to this frozen purgatory began nearly 2 years ago with the Italian landings. Since then, you've accumulated experiences no textbook could prepare you for. The good news, delivered with grim military humour, is simple. You draw breath while many others cannot make that claim. The challenging news requires more explanation. Intelligence suggests the Germans are preparing a massive counterattack, and geography has conspired to place your position directly in their intended path. Direct your attention leftward. Observe that slight figure methodically inspecting his M1 carbine. Meet Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy, though his appearance might challenge your expectations of a decorated combat veteran. At 19 years old, standing barely 5 feet 5 inches, weighing perhaps 110 pounds when fully equipped, he possesses the physical presence of someone who should be concerned with algebra homework rather than artillery coordinates, yet appearances deceive with breathtaking thoroughness. This boyish soldier already wears a Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars and 2 Bronze Stars, decorations earned through acts of valor that seem to defy both physics and common sense. The enlisted men have dubbed him Baby, due to his youthful features, though such jokes have evolved from affection rather than mockery, particularly after witnessing his single-handed destruction of a German machine gun nest at Anzio, or his elimination of 2 enemy snipers and another machine gun position in France. Murphy appears to operate on a spectrum between extraordinary courage and complete disregard for personal mortality, quite possibly both simultaneously. "Hey!" His voice cuts through the morning air, breath visible in crystalline puffs. "Get some coffee if any remains. Today promises to be lengthy. Extracting yourself from the foxhole requires a symphony of crunching snow beneath your boots." The surrounding forest presents a scene of stark, deadly beauty. Towering pines bear the weight of accumulated snowfall on their branches. Morning mist weaves between trunk and shadow. In the distance, approximately 1 mile across open fields, lies the village of Holzwihr, territory firmly under German control. Your company's tactical position could charitably be described as problematic. The woods form a natural U-shape with open ground stretching ahead toward enemy positions. A narrow road provides the only direct approach from forest to village. The ground's frozen condition has transformed entrenching tool work from difficult to nearly impossible, forcing most soldiers to content themselves with shallow depressions that provide minimal protection while keeping their bodies below the theoretical safety line of ground level. Navigation through the forest leads you to what serves as the mess area, essentially a slightly wider clearing where some unfortunate cook attempts to coax heat from a stove that seems designed to mock such ambitions. The coffee, when finally obtained, barely qualifies as warm and tastes as though it was filtered through a muddy sock, but it contains caffeine, and caffeine might provide the neurochemical difference between alertness and death. "Germans are shifting positions," announces a sergeant whose face bears the weathered lines of someone who has aged decades in months. "Scouts reported movement in the village. Could mean nothing, could mean everything." The coffee hits your empty stomach like a liquid reminder of more civilized times. When did you last consume what could reasonably be called a meal? Memory fails to provide an answer. K-rations have become your primary nutritional source, a philosophical challenge to the concept of food. Each package contains processed meat of questionable origin, biscuits capable of dental damage, chocolate bars frozen to the consistency of granite, and cigarettes that provide more warmth than the accompanying matches. Sunrise begins its slow transformation of the forest, casting elongated shadows between the trees while distant artillery provides its constant percussion soundtrack. Your hands exhibit a slight tremor. Whether from cold or accumulated stress remains an open question that you've stopped trying to answer. Lieutenant Murphy moves among the positions like a shepherd tending his flock, offering encouragement despite his own obvious exhaustion. Despite his size and relative youth, something about his presence generates confidence. Perhaps it's his consistent calmness under fire, or simply the mathematical fact of his continued survival in circumstances that have claimed so many others. When his gaze meets yours, his eyes carry the weight of experiences that have aged him far beyond his chronological years. Keep your head down today, he advises with quiet authority. Something feels different. Back at your fighting position, equipment inspection becomes a ritual of survival. Your M1 Garand represents your most valuable possession. 8 rounds chambered in clips that could mean the difference between life and obituary. The metal feels painfully cold even through gloves, but its mechanical reliability has earned your complete trust. Additional ammunition clips rest in pouches, along with a canteen containing water in various states of freezing, a first aid packet that seems inadequate for paper cuts, much less combat wounds, a bayonet, and several grenades. The inventory feels insufficient for the challenges ahead, but it represents the entire arsenal available for your continued existence. Around 2 p.m., the nature of your situation undergoes dramatic transformation. The first indicator arrives as sound, a mechanical rumbling distinct from artillery patterns. Tank engines approach with methodical, inexorable rhythm. They're coming. Someone's voice cuts through the afternoon air, instantly transforming 40 tired soldiers into 40 alert combatants with weapons ready. From Holtzwehr, emerging through the mist like metal leviathans, 6 German tanks advance across the snow-covered field toward your position. Behind these armoured spearheads, German infantry deploy in textbook skirmish formation. Not mere dozens, but hundreds of enemy soldiers. A nearby voice whispers the prayer that everyone thinks, Jesus Christ. The mathematical reality presents itself with brutal clarity. 40 Americans face hundreds of Germans supported by armour, and Company B possesses exactly 0 weapons capable of engaging German Panther tanks effectively. Your only tank-killing capability rests with 2 M10 tank destroyers that have been providing fire support, one positioned on the road leading toward the village, the other approximately 40 yards forward of your main line. Lieutenant Murphy coordinates with artillery control via radio, his voice maintaining professional calm while his body language telegraphs the severity of your tactical situation. This engagement promises to challenge every assumption about survivability. German artillery opens the dance, and suddenly the world becomes an environment of pure noise and chaos. Shells detonate among the trees with earth-shaking violence, launching deadly splinters and shrapnel in every direction. Survival instinct drives you deeper into your inadequate foxhole, attempting to merge with the frozen earth that now seems like the only friend you have in the universe. When courage allows you to observe the developing battle, you witness one of your M10 tank destroyers absorb a direct hit. The explosion creates a brief sun where the vehicle used to be, and the commander and gunner simply cease to exist. Surviving crew members abandon their burning platform and sprint toward the tree line. The remaining M10 maintains continuous fire, attempting to slow the German advance, but its shells bounce harmlessly off the frontal armour of the approaching Panthers. Recognizing the futility of their current position, the crew attempts to reverse into the tree line for better cover, only to slide off the road into a drainage ditch where their gun becomes useless. Lieutenant Murphy's voice cuts through the artillery barrage. Fall back to secondary positions, move. The order carries implications that everyone understands. Your current line cannot hold against this assault. A prepared defensive position waits several hundred meters deeper in the woods, but someone must provide covering fire during the withdrawal. Murphy continues coordinating artillery strikes via field telephone, standing completely exposed while directing fire missions onto the advancing German formations. His behavior suggests either complete insanity or absolute dedication to duty? Quite possibly both. As you begin moving toward the fallback position, staying low while navigating between trees, a glance over your shoulder provides a scene that will be burned into your memory forever. Murphy remains at his position, now completely alone. The rest of Company B retreats while he climbs onto the burning M10 tank destroyer. Taking position behind the vehicle's .50 caliber machine gun, he begins engaging the German infantry with sustained, accurate fire. Enemy bullets and artillery shells impact all around his position. The tank destroyer could explode at any moment from secondary fires or ammunition cook-off, yet there he stands, cutting down advancing German soldiers with methodical precision. Later, you'll learn that when the artillery coordinator asked for German proximity, Murphy responded, "Just hold the phone and I'll let you talk to one of the bastards." For 1 full hour, Murphy maintains his position atop the burning tank destroyer, firing the .50 cal, adjusting artillery strikes, single-handedly holding off hundreds of German troops. You watch from the tree line as enemies attempt flanking maneuvers, as tank rounds explode near his position, as the M10 is repeatedly hit and engulfed in smoke. Twice you're certain he's been killed. Twice he emerges from the destruction, still firing. The ground around the tank destroyer becomes carpeted with German casualties. The attack loses momentum, stalls, and finally begins to withdraw. Only then does Murphy climb down from the burning vehicle and walk toward American lines, limping from a leg wound but refusing medical evacuation. Instead, he organizes a counterattack, leading Company B's survivors to reclaim the original position as Germans retreat toward Holzwehr. Military records will note that Murphy killed or wounded approximately 50 German soldiers during this engagement. He stopped an attack by 6 tanks and 250 infantry soldiers. He prevented the destruction of Company B. As darkness reclaims the forest, you find yourself back in your foxhole at the wood's edge. Temperature continues its relentless descent. Your hands have progressed beyond numbness to complete insensitivity. Your feet exist as blocks of ice attached to your legs. Exhaustion permeates every cell of your being, yet somehow you continue to process sensory input and maintain consciousness. Murphy continues his circuit among the men, checking on wounded, ensuring proper care for casualties. When he passes your position, you notice that despite everything, his hands remain steady. "Get some rest," he advises. "They'll return tomorrow." You settle deeper into your fighting position, arranging the frozen blanket around your body in a futile attempt at warmth retention. Stars emerge overhead, brilliant points of light in the clear winter sky. Your thoughts drift toward home, warm beds, hot meals, streets where survival doesn't require constant vigilance. You adjust your position slightly, searching for that one spot where the ground doesn't actively assault your hip bone. Cold continues its penetration through every layer of clothing, yet somehow your eyelids grow heavy. Breathing slows to a more restful rhythm. Muscles begin their gradual relaxation process, one fiber at a time. Artillery continues its distant rumbling, but here in this specific moment, an odd tranquility settles over your immediate area. You remain alive. Your unit held its ground. Tomorrow will deliver whatever challenges await. No point in borrowing trouble from future hours. A quiet yawn escapes, your jaw protesting the cold air. Fingers finally discover some warmth inside your gloves as you tuck hands against your chest. Your helmet, resting beside you on the frozen ground, provides an oddly comforting presence. A small piece of protection in a world designed to kill you. Another slow, deep breath creates a small cloud in the frigid air. You settle in for another night in France's frozen forests, where snow continues its gentle descent through pine branches overhead, covering the evidence of today's violence with nature's clean white amnesty. Morning arrives not with gentle sunlight through bedroom curtains, but with the harsh reality of a sergeant's boot against your foxhole. Up and at 'em, soldier. Germans didn't go home just because you're tired. Your body has transformed overnight into an assemblage of lead weights and broken glass. Every joint protests movement with sharp, angry pain. Cold has penetrated so deeply that your core temperature seems permanently altered. Your mouth tastes like you've been chewing copper pennies dipped in motor oil. European meteorologists claim this is the coldest winter in decades. Personal experience supports their assessment. Ice has formed on the interior of your helmet where breath condensed and froze during sleep. Your canteen now contains a solid block of ice instead of water. Even shoelaces have frozen stiff, resisting your numb-fingered attempts at retying boots. Throughout the company area, other soldiers perform the same morning ritual, groaning as frozen limbs attempt basic function, cursing as they discover which equipment has succumbed to overnight temperatures, trying to light cigarettes with fingers that no longer possess fine motor control. "Hey, pass the matches," calls the soldier from the adjacent foxhole. He's one of the recent replacements, arrived 3 days ago. Jenkins or Johnson or something beginning with J. Names blur together when people arrive and depart with such frequency. "Mine are soaked," he continues. You toss him your matchbook. He looks impossibly young, maybe 18, with round cheeks that still carry baby fat. The kid should be delivering morning newspapers, not facing German machine guns. Combat will either mature him rapidly or kill him quickly. Middle ground rarely exists in this environment. Distant artillery resumes its morning symphony, German 88s from the sound. The distinctive crump has become as familiar as your own pulse. Experience has taught you to differentiate between outgoing and incoming rounds. These appear to be outgoing German shells directed at some other unfortunate unit. Small mercies deserve acknowledgement. Breakfast arrives in the form of another K-ration box. Powdered eggs that mix with water to form a pale yellow paste. Rock-hard biscuits capable of chipping teeth. Chocolate frozen to the consistency of concrete. Instant coffee that tastes like burnt dirt mixed with regret. You consume everything mechanically, not for pleasure but for the calories required to maintain body heat in these conditions. Lieutenant Murphy appears for his morning inspection, walking the line to check each position. The bandage visible beneath his pants leg marks yesterday's wound, but he moves without obvious impairment. His face has grown gaunt, cheekbones sharp under skin weathered beyond his years. "Any movement from the village?" he inquires. "Negative, sir," you respond. "Quiet since dawn." He nods acknowledgement. "They took casualties yesterday, but they'll regroup. Stay alert." You watch him continue down the line, spending a moment with each soldier. Exhaustion marks everyone's features, but Murphy carries himself with quiet competence that inspires confidence. You've served under officers who commanded from comfortable distances, treating enlisted men as expendable resources. Murphy demonstrates leadership through shared hardship and personal example. The morning progresses with characteristic military tedium. War consists largely of extended boredom punctuated by moments of absolute terror. Hours of inactivity while maintaining complete readiness for sudden, violent action. You spend time maintaining your weapon. The M1 Garand represents solid engineering, but requires constant care in these conditions. Field stripping allows you to clean each component with an oily rag, preventing rust and ensuring reliable function. The 8-round clip system provides significant improvement over the bolt-action Springfield your father carried in France during 1918. Dad rarely discussed that experience, perhaps for good reason. A supply jeep arrives near noon, bringing mail and fresh equipment. Letters from home possess value beyond gold or currency. You receive 2, one from your mother, another from your girlfriend in Ohio. Both get tucked inside your jacket for later reading. Letters require privacy, where no one can witness if they produce tears. Fresh socks accompany the mail delivery, gifts more precious than Christmas presents. Winter combat success depends largely on foot care. Trenchfoot has removed more soldiers from action than enemy bullets. You change socks immediately, massaging sensation back into your toes. They appear pale and wrinkled but show no black discoloration. No frostbite yet. Another small victory. "Hey," calls Jenkins. You've confirmed his name. "Is it true what they're saying about Lieutenant Murphy? That he took on an entire German company by himself yesterday?" You nod while tucking the damp socks inside your shirt to dry against body heat. "Saw it myself. Climbed onto a burning tank destroyer and manned the 50 cal. Held off the whole German attack for an hour." Jenkins whistles softly. "They'll give him a medal for that, won't they?" "Probably, if we survive long enough for headquarters to hear about it." Your response isn't intended to discourage the kid, but hope can be dangerous in combat. Better to expect the worst and be pleasantly surprised than maintain unrealistic optimism. After lunch, more K-rations featuring processed meat product that might generously be called ham, you're assigned to patrol duty. 6 men led by Staff Sergeant Barlow, tasked with reconnaissance north of your position to detect any German activity. Moving through snow-covered forest requires specific skills. Step placement must be deliberate and quiet. Listening becomes constant and comprehensive. Visual scanning searches for tracks, broken branches, cigarette butts, anything indicating enemy presence. Winter landscape plays optical tricks. Every shadow could conceal a German soldier. Every sound might signal someone taking aim. The patrol consumes 3 hours and reveals nothing except how thoroughly exhausted everyone has become. By the time you return to company positions, your legs feel like rubber and your lungs burn from cold air inhalation. Lieutenant Murphy is conferring with remaining officers when you arrive. Their expression suggests serious developments, and they're studying a map spread across a jeep hood. Something significant is happening. Information filters through military channels. Germans are withdrawing from the Colmar pocket. Intelligence indicates redeployment eastward to counter Soviet advances. Your regiment receives orders to advance tomorrow, maintaining pressure and preventing organized enemy retreat. That evening you consume dinner K-rations while sitting on your foxhole's edge, watching sunset paint the snow-covered landscape in shades of pink and gold. The scene would be beautiful if it weren't a battlefield littered with evidence of today's violence. Jenkins sits nearby, writing a letter home by fading daylight. "What do you tell them?" you ask. "Your family, I mean." He shrugs. "That I'm fine, that conditions aren't bad, that the food's good and I'm making friends." He folds the paper carefully. "What else can you say?" They'd worry more if they knew the truth. You nod understanding. Your own correspondence home contains similar gentle deceptions. No point describing constant fear, cold that penetrates to your bones, or men who vanish in explosions of red mist. There 1 second, gone the next. "How did you end up here?" Jenkins asks. "Volunteer or drafted?" "Volunteered. December 1941, right after Pearl Harbor. Seemed like the right thing to do." You chew a piece of hard candy from your ration kit. Drafted last August, hadn't even finished high school yet. You're about to respond when a whistle cuts through the evening air, followed by the unmistakable sound of incoming artillery. Your body reacts before conscious thought, diving into the foxhole. Jenkins follows a split second later, landing partially on top of you as the world explodes. The German barrage continues for 20 minutes. 20 minutes of hell with earth shaking, trees shattering, and men screaming. Survival requires pressing yourself into the dirt at your foxhole's bottom and hoping the next shell doesn't carry your name. When the bombardment finally ceases, silence feels almost as shocking as the noise. Your ears ring with phantom sounds. Dirt and pine needles have somehow infiltrated your clothing, your mouth, everywhere. You spit and blink, attempting to clear your senses. "You okay?" you ask Jenkins, who remains half-draped across you. He nods, face pale in growing darkness. Yeah, I think so." Cautiously, you both peer over the foxhole's edge. The forest has been transformed. Where tall pines once stood, splintered stumps now mark their former locations. Craters pockmark the snow. The air carries scents of cordite and burning wood. Voices call out in the gloom, officers and NCOs checking on their men. "Medic! We need a medic over here!" The cry emanates from nearby. You and Jenkins scramble from your foxhole toward the sound. In the adjacent position, 2 soldiers bend over a third. Even in fading light, dark stains on the snow around them tell their story. It's Sergeant Barlow who led your afternoon patrol. Shrapnel has found him, a jagged metal fragment protruding from his thigh. His face shows grey shock and pain. The medic arrives, pushing past you with his supply bag. "Give me space, fellas, and someone find me a damn light." You pull out your Zippo and flick it on, providing illumination so the medic can work. He cuts away Barlow's pant leg, revealing a wound that turns your stomach. The sergeant grits his teeth, refusing to cry out even as the medic probes the injury. "You're going to be okay, Sarge," the medic says, working quickly to clean and bandage the wound. "This is your ticket home." Barlow shakes his head weakly. "Can't leave my boys." "Not your choice, I'm afraid. This needs surgery." 2 men arrive with a stretcher and carefully load Barlow onto it. He reaches out, grabbing your arm as they lift him. "Keep an eye on the new kid," he says, nodding toward Jenkins. "He's greener than grass." You nod. "Will do, Sarge. See you stateside." But both of you know it's unlikely you'll ever meet again. That's simply how things work out here. People come and go, mostly go. Dwelling on it serves no purpose. Night deepens and temperature drops further. Scattered clouds that provided the day's snow cover have cleared, revealing a vast stellar canopy. The beauty strikes you as almost obscene given the carnage below. Lieutenant Murphy calls a meeting of NCOs and experienced privates, including yourself. The German artillery barrage likely preceded another attack, he explains. Enemy forces know about tomorrow's advance and want to disrupt preparations. "Double the watch tonight," he orders. 2 men per position, 4-hour shifts. I want eyes on that village all night long. You draw the midnight to 4 a.m. watch with Jenkins. When your turn comes, you settle into the foxhole together, rifle across your knees, eyes straining to penetrate darkness. Temperature has plummeted to painful levels. Your breath forms small clouds with each exhalation. "How do you stand it?" Jenkins whispers after an hour of silence. "The waiting, I mean. Knowing they're out there might be watching us right now." You consider his question. You just do. Focus on the next minute, the next hour. Don't think too far ahead. "I'm scared," he admits, "all the time." Everyone is. Only liars and crazy people claim they aren't afraid out here. Conversation drops off after that exchange. Cold makes talking an effort, and listening takes priority over chatting. Night comes alive with small sounds, creaking frozen branches, distant vehicle rumbles, occasional flares illuminating no man's land between your position and the village. Around 3 a.m. you spot movement at the wood's edge. You tense, raising your rifle, but it's only a deer. A small doe picking her way delicately through snow. She freezes when sensing your presence, large eyes reflecting starlight. For a long moment you stare at each other, two living beings in a landscape of death. Then she turns and bounds away, white tail flashing in darkness. When your watch ends, you wake the next shift and crawl back to your sleeping position. Despite cold and discomfort, exhaustion claims you quickly. Dreams become a jumbled mixture of home and war. Faces of friends both living and dead, your mother's voice mixed with artillery whistles. Dawn arrives with thin grey light that provides little warmth to the frozen landscape. But there's a change in the air, a sense of anticipation. Today you move forward. Today you carry the fight to the enemy. As you prepare gear for the advance, Lieutenant Murphy passes your position. He looks even more exhausted than yesterday, if possible, but his eyes remain clear and focused. "Ready?" he asks simply. You nod, securing your helmet strap. "Ready, sir." He clasps your shoulder briefly, the weight of his hand solid and reassuring through your layers of clothing. We push to the village, clear any resistance, and keep going, one foot in front of the other. That's how we win this thing. The company forms up along the wood's edge, facing the open field that leads to Holtzwehr. Morning fog lifts gradually, revealing scars from yesterday's battle. The burned-out tank destroyer, dark forms of fallen German soldiers still lying in snow, churned earth from artillery impacts. You check your rifle one final time, ensuring a round is chambered. Beside you, Jenkins performs the same ritual, his movements mechanical, face set in determination's mask. He catches your eye and gives a small nod. Terror fills him, but he'll move forward anyway. That's courage in its purest form. The signal passes down the line, time has come. You take a deep breath of cold air, feeling it fill your lungs. Your heart pounds, but your hands remain steady. You've done this before. You'll do it again. One foot in front of the other, as Murphy said. As you step from the tree line into open field, rising sun breaks through clouds, illuminating snow in a dazzling display of light. For just a moment, it's breathtakingly beautiful. Then you're moving forward, boots crunching through frozen crust, rifle ready. You shift slightly, adjusting weight as you walk. Marching rhythm forces muscles to warm, to loosen. Breathing falls into steady pattern, in through nose, out through mouth. Nice and easy. One step, then another, moving toward whatever awaits. Morning light grows stronger with each passing minute. The village of Holtzwehr looms ahead, a cluster of stone buildings with red tile roofs partially covered in snow. Smoke rises from several chimneys. It looks almost peaceful from this distance, like something from a Christmas card. Hard to believe it's filled with Germans trying to kill you. The advance across open field represents the most vulnerable phase. 200 yards of exposure with nowhere to hide. Lieutenant Murphy has called in artillery support to suppress German resistance, but artillery never provides surgical precision. Shells land with thunderous impacts, kicking up fountains of snow and dirt around the village perimeter. Movement occurs in short rushes. 5 men advance while others provide covering fire. Then another group moves up, leapfrogging toward the objective. The weight of your gear, rifle, ammunition, grenades, canteen, first aid kit, entrenching tool, feels heavier with each step through knee-deep snow. Halfway across, Germans open up with machine gun fire. The distinctive rattle of the MG-42, Hitler's buzzsaw the men call it, cuts through air. Bullets snap overhead and kick up snow around your feet. You dive forward, pressing yourself into a shallow ground depression. "Contact front!" someone shouts unnecessarily, as if the bullets weren't announcement enough. Next to you, Jenkins lies flat on his belly, eyes wide with fear. You've experienced this before, but this marks his first time under direct fire. Panic rises in him like floodwater. "Keep your head down," you tell him. "When I say move, we go together. 3 o'clock direction toward that fallen tree. Got it?" He nods, not trusting himself to speak. You wait for a pause in firing, then tap his shoulder. "Move!" Both of you scramble up and sprint toward the fallen tree trunk about 15 yards away. The machine gun opens up again, but moving targets prove harder to hit. You slide into cover behind the tree just as bullets thunk into wood. Jenkins breathes hard, more from fear than exertion. "Jesus Christ," he gasps. "You're okay," you tell him. "Just keep moving forward. That's all you have to do." Along the entire line, the company performs the same deadly dance. Rush, take cover, provide suppressing fire for others, rush again. Progress comes agonizingly slowly, but it comes nonetheless. Murphy leads from the front with the advance element directing the attack. Even from your position, you can see him moving between covered positions, coordinating fire and movement with hand signals and shouted commands. The village grows larger with each bound forward. Individual buildings become visible, windows and doorways that could conceal enemy fighters, stone walls that could stop bullets or hide machine gun nests. You can make out details now: weathered shutters, snow accumulated on windowsills, a church steeple rising above the other structures. It looks like a place where families should be gathering for Sunday dinner, not a fortress full of soldiers trying to kill you. Another bound forward brings you within 100 yards of the village outskirts. Close enough to see individual stones in the building walls. Close enough to make out tire tracks in the snow where German vehicles had been positioned. The machine gun fire intensifies as you close distance. More weapons join the chorus. Rifle fire crackling from multiple buildings, the thump of mortar rounds landing nearby. The Germans have had time to prepare defensive positions, and they're using every advantage. Jenkins stays close to your left shoulder as you both sprint to the next piece of cover, a low stone wall that might once have bordered someone's garden. Now it serves as a barrier between you and German bullets. "How much farther?" he asks, breathing heavily. You risk a quick look toward the village. "Maybe 50 yards to the first buildings. We're almost there." Murphy's voice cuts through the gunfire. "Smoke! I want smoke on those positions." Smoke grenades arc through the air, landing near the German strongpoints. White phosphorus begins billowing, obscuring vision and providing concealment for the final assault phase. "This is it," you tell Jenkins. "When the word comes, we go all the way. No stopping until we're in those buildings." He nods, checking his rifle one more time. The signal comes as a whistle blast from Murphy's position. "Go! Go! Go!" The entire company rises as one and charges through the smoke toward Holtzwehr. You run harder than you've ever run, legs pumping through snow, gear bouncing, rifle clutched across your chest. The village rushes toward you. Stone walls, wooden doors, window openings that could hide death or safety. Your boots pound against packed snow, then suddenly against cobblestones as you reach the village's edge. Jenkins stays beside you, both of you breathing hard but alive, unhit by the bullets that snapped through the air around you during the charge. The first building looms ahead, a 2-story house with shuttered windows and a heavy wooden door. Murphy appears from the smoke, gesturing toward different structures. "Clear those buildings," he shouts, "room by room, house by house." And so begins the next phase of your war. Urban combat in a French village, where death could wait behind any door, and survival depends on split-second decisions and the soldier fighting beside you. You look at Jenkins, see your own mixture of fear and determination reflected in his young face, and together you advance toward the nearest building, ready to continue this ancient dance of soldiers in combat. This story that began in frozen foxholes and continues now in the narrow streets of Holtzsphere. The morning grows brighter with each passing moment, but the cold remains, and the war continues, and you move forward because that's what soldiers do. One step at a time, one building at a time, carrying each other through whatever comes next. Your breathing settles into the rhythm of survival as you approach the village house, weapon ready, senses alert, another chapter beginning in this endless story of winter warfare in the forests of France. But for now, in this moment, you're moving forward, and Jenkins is beside you, and Lieutenant Murphy leads from the front, and somehow that feels like enough to face whatever waits in the shadows ahead. Tomorrow's battles will bring tomorrow's challenges. Tonight's rest, when it finally comes, will be earned through today's courage. But right now, there's only this. The next step, the next breath, the next moment in this long journey toward whatever peace awaits on the far side of war. One foot in front of the other, as Murphy said. That's how you win. That's how you survive. That's how you carry the light forward through the darkness step by step, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, until the story finds its end and the soldiers can finally rest. The first building you and Jenkins approach stands 3 stories tall, its stone facade scarred by shrapnel and bullet impacts from previous battles. Windows on the ground floor have been boarded up with rough planks, while upper floors show the dark, empty eye sockets of blown-out glass. A wooden sign in faded French hangs askew beside the heavy oak door. Boulangerie, a bakery where families once gathered for fresh bread and morning gossip. Murphy signals with hand gestures. You and Jenkins take the front entrance, while 2 other soldiers circle to the rear. The universal language of infantry tactics needs no translation. Stack up, prepare to breach, clear each room methodically. Death could be waiting behind any door, around any corner, in any shadow. Your gloved hand finds the door handle, solid iron, cold enough to burn skin even through wool. Jenkins positions himself to your left, M1 carbine ready, eyes wide but determined. The kid has learned quickly that hesitation kills more soldiers than enemy bullets. The door swings open with a groan that sounds unnaturally loud in the morning stillness. Interior darkness greets you like a living thing. Your eyes, adjusted to snow-reflected sunlight, struggle to penetrate the gloom. The bakery's interior tells a story of interrupted life. Overturned tables, scattered flour creating ghostly patterns across the floor, an oven cold and empty for who knows how long. "Clear left," Jenkins whispers, his voice steady despite the fear you know churns in his stomach. "Clear right," you respond, rifle sweeping the shadows for any sign of movement. The building's wooden floors creak under your weight as you advance deeper into the structure. Each step might trigger a mine, alert a hidden sniper, or simply be the last step you ever take. But you move forward anyway, because that's what soldiers do when civilians are counting on them to drive the enemy from their homes. Stairs lead to the second floor, narrow wooden steps that protest every footfall. The banister, once polished smooth by countless hands, now bears the rough gouges of shrapnel and bullet damage. Family photographs line the stair wall, Faces of French civilians who fled when the war came to their doorstep. A young couple on their wedding day. Children playing in a garden. An elderly man with kind eyes holding a grandchild. All of them now refugees, if they're lucky enough to still be alive. The second floor reveals the family's living quarters. A small apartment above the bakery where someone tried to maintain normal life despite the war raging around them. A child's toys scattered in one room, wooden blocks, a raggedy doll with yarn hair, picture books with colourful illustrations. The sight hits you harder than expected. These aren't just buildings you're clearing. These are homes where people lived, loved, hoped for better days. Jenkins finds something in what appears to be the main bedroom, a photograph in a silver frame, somehow unbroken despite the chaos. It shows a little girl, maybe 6 years old, feeding ducks by a pond. Her smile radiates pure joy, the kind of innocent happiness that war destroys first and most thoroughly. "Think they got out?" Jenkins asks quietly, still holding the photograph. "Hope so," you reply, though you've seen enough refugee columns to know that escape doesn't guarantee survival. Movement outside the window draws your attention. Murphy is advancing with the main force toward the village centre, using hand signals to coordinate his men. Even from this distance, you can see his careful, methodical approach. Every corner cleared, every potential sniper position covered, every movement calculated to minimize casualties while maintaining momentum. The third floor proves empty except for storage, sacks of flour gone mouldy, abandoned baking equipment, and rats that have grown bold in the absence of human habitation. But the elevation provides an excellent observation post, overlooking the village's main square and the road leading back toward German positions. Through a broken window you watch the systematic clearing operation unfold below. Squad by squad, building by building, Company B reclaims Holtzwehr from the enemy. Occasionally the sharp crack of rifle fire indicates contact, German stragglers or booby traps claiming their toll. Each shot represents a split-second decision that could mean life or death for one of your fellow soldiers. "Movement 2 o'clock, Jenkins reports, peering through his rifle scope. "German patrol, looks like 4 men, moving toward the church." You adjust your position to get a better view. Indeed, 4 figures in field grey uniforms are moving carefully between buildings, heading toward the village's central church. Their movements suggest they're not retreating but positioning themselves for an ambush. The radio crackles, Murphy's voice calm but urgent. "All units, be advised. Enemy activity reported near the church. Approach with caution." You key the handset. Overwatch position confirms 4 enemy soldiers, grey uniforms, approaching church from the east. We have a clear field of fire if needed. "Roger, Overwatch. Maintain observation. Fire only if they engage our advance elements." The German patrol reaches the church and disappears inside through a side door. The building itself presents a formidable defensive position. Thick stone walls, elevated bell tower, multiple entrances and exits. If the enemy has established a strong point there, dislodging them could cost American lives. Minutes pass with agonizing slowness. Your breath creates small clouds in the cold air, and you're conscious of how exposed your position might be to counter-sniper fire. But the elevation and observation capability are too valuable to abandon. Jenkins has been studying the village layout through his scope. "Sir, I think I can see a way around the church. That alley there runs behind the pharmacy. Might be able to flank them if they're setting up inside." You consider his suggestion. The kid has good tactical instincts, probably better than some NCOs you've served under. but flanking maneuvers in urban terrain are risky, especially with limited communication and coordination. Below, Murphy's advance has reached the village square. 2 squads establish overwatch positions while a third begins approaching the church. The Germans inside must know they're coming. The question is whether they'll fight or slip away through a back exit. The answer comes in the form of machine gun fire erupting from the church bell tower. The distinctive sound of an MG-42 echoes off stone buildings as bullets rake the square below. American soldiers dive for cover behind whatever protection they can find. Overturned carts, stone walls, the base of a memorial statue. Jesus, Jenkins breathes, they're pinned down. You're already adjusting your rifle, looking for a shot at the bell tower. The German machine gunner is partially concealed behind stone battlements, but occasionally exposes himself when traversing fire across different targets. "Can you see him?" you ask Jenkins. "Got him. Range about 200 meters. Winds from the left, maybe 5 miles per hour. The mathematics of long-range shooting in combat conditions. Variables that could mean the difference between neutralizing a threat and watching your friends die in the square below. You settle into a proper firing position, using the window frame as a rest. The German machine gunner sweeps his fire from left to right, then back again. He's disciplined, conserving ammunition, making every burst count. But that discipline creates a pattern, and patterns can be exploited. Your breathing slows, heart rate drops. The world narrows to just the sight picture, the target, the moment between heartbeats when the rifle can deliver its message with lethal precision. The German exposes himself for another firing burst. You squeeze the trigger. The M1 Garand speaks with authority, the rifle bucking against your shoulder. Through the scope you see the German machine gunner snap backward and disappear behind the stone parapet. "Hit!" Jenkins confirms. "He's down." The machine gun falls silent. But that doesn't end the threat. 3 other Germans remain in the church, and they now know exactly where the shot came from. Counterfire is inevitable. "Time to move," you tell Jenkins. "They'll be putting rounds on this position any second." Both of you gather your gear and head for the stairs, just as rifle bullets begin impacting the 3rd-floor windows. Stone fragments and splintered wood fill the air where you'd been positioned moments before. The descent through the building feels like a controlled fall. Boots thundering on wooden steps, equipment rattling, hearts pounding with adrenaline. Behind you, automatic weapons fire continues as the remaining Germans in the church engage Murphy's forces in the square. You reach the ground floor and immediately move toward the rear exit. Urban combat doctrine emphasizes mobility. Stay in one place too long, and you become a target. Keep moving. Keep the enemy guessing. Never let them establish fire superiority. The back door opens onto a narrow alley filled with debris, broken furniture, scattered belongings, the detritus of civilian evacuation. Perfect concealment for movement, but also perfect cover for enemy soldiers doing exactly what you're doing. Jenkins moves behind you, covering your 6 while you navigate the obstacle course of abandoned household items. A child's bicycle with one wheel missing. A suitcase burst open, its contents scattered by wind and weather. A family portrait in a cracked frame, faces smiling up from the dirty snow. The alley connects to the street Murphy suggested for the flanking approach. From your new position, you can see the church's rear entrance, a simple wooden door that might be unguarded or might conceal a German with a machine pistol. Radio chatter indicates Murphy's main force is still pinned down in the square. The remaining Germans in the church have good fields of fire and plenty of ammunition. They're not showing any inclination to retreat. "What's the plan?" Jenkins asks. You study the tactical situation. The rear door is maybe 30 meters away across open ground. No cover, no concealment, just snow-covered cobblestones and the hope that the Germans are focused on targets in the square rather than potential threats from behind. Fast and violent, you decide. Sprint to the door, breach immediately, clear whatever's inside, no time for careful approaches. Jenkins nods. The kid has absorbed the brutal mathematics of infantry combat. Sometimes the dangerous option is safer than the safe option, because the enemy expects you to be cautious. You key the radio. Overwatch to base, attempting to breach church from rear. Maintain pressure on front entrances. Murphy's response crackles back. Roger. Overwatch. Be advised. At least 3 enemies still active inside. Watch for crossfire. 3 Germans. Unknown weapons. Unknown positions inside a building with multiple rooms, balconies and hiding places. The odds aren't encouraging, but they rarely are in this business. Ready? You ask Jenkins. He checks his weapon one final time, ensures his ammunition pouches are secure, and gives you the nod that means he's prepared to follow you into hell if necessary. Together you break from the alley into the open space behind the church. 30 meters of exposure, boots slipping on icy cobblestones, gear bouncing, the church's stone wall growing larger with each stride. No shots fired, no German voices shouting warnings. Either they haven't spotted you, or they're waiting for you to enter their kill zone. You hit the door hard with your shoulder, expecting it to be locked or barricaded. Instead, it swings open freely, sending you stumbling into the church interior with Jenkins right behind you. The sacred space has been transformed into a fortress. Wooden pews have been overturned to create firing positions. Religious statuary has been moved to block doorways and windows. Even here, in this house of God, war has corrupted everything it touches. 2 Germans immediately visible, one near the altar, another halfway up the stairs leading to the bell tower. Both turn toward the sudden intrusion, reaching for weapons. Training takes over. Your rifle finds the first target, fires, cycles, finds the second target. Jenkins engages simultaneously, his carbine chattering in short, controlled bursts. The enclosed space amplifies every sound until your ears ring with acoustic trauma. Both Germans go down, but not before the one near the altar manages to trigger a burst from his Schmeisser submachine gun. Bullets punch into the wooden door frame where your head had been a split second earlier. Clear left, you call, sweeping your sector. Clear right, Jenkins responds, but the building isn't clear. Somewhere above, the 3rd German has heard the gunfire and knows his comrades are dead. He's alone now, probably terrified, possibly desperate enough to do something stupid. Footsteps echo from the bell tower. Boots on wooden stairs, someone moving quickly, retreating or repositioning for a better shot. Impossible to tell without visual contact. The church's interior layout works against you. Multiple levels, narrow staircases, balconies that provide elevated firing positions. Classical architecture designed for worship, not for close quarters combat. Cover the stairs, you tell Jenkins. I'll check the side rooms. The church's interior tells its own story of interrupted life. Prayer books scattered across the floor, candles melted into waxy puddles, a crucifix hanging askew above the altar, as if even divine symbols can't maintain their dignity in the face of human violence. A side chapel contains religious artifacts, painted saints with serene faces, completely at odds with the violence that has invaded their sanctuary. Behind the altar, you discover a small office where the priest once prepared sermons and counselled parishioners. Personal items suggest hasty evacuation, reading glasses left on an open Bible, a half-finished letter home to someone named Marie. Movement above indicates the 3rd German is still active, probably in the bell tower where he has good observation of the entire village. From that position, he could direct fire on Murphy's forces, call in artillery strikes, or simply wait for reinforcements. "Contact bell tower," Jenkins reports. "Saw movement in the upper windows." You rejoin Jenkins at the base of the narrow spiral staircase leading upward. The steps are stone, worn smooth by centuries of foot traffic, now slick with condensation from cold air meeting warm breath. Each step could be your last if the German above has a clear shot down the stairwell. "Frag out," you announce, pulling the pin on a hand grenade. The explosive tumbles up the stairs, bounces off stone walls and detonates with a sharp crack that seems to shake the entire building. Silence follows. Either the grenade found its target or the German is smart enough to stay quiet and let you come to him. You start up the stairs, rifle ready, Jenkins covering from below. The spiral design means you can't see more than a few steps ahead at any time. Each turn could reveal a gun barrel pointed at your face. Halfway up you find evidence of the grenade's effectiveness. Fresh stone chips, the acrid smell of explosive and a few dark stains on the ancient walls. But no body, no weapon, no confirmation of a kill. The bell tower's main chamber opens up as you complete the spiral ascent. Here, massive bronze bells hang silent in their wooden framework. Windows on all four sides provide commanding views of the village and surrounding countryside. It's an ideal position for an observer or sniper. The third German lies behind the eastern window, his body crumpled in a way that suggests serious injury from grenade fragments. His rifle, a precision-scoped Mauser, points toward the village square where Murphy's men had been pinned down. But he's not dead. As you approach to secure the weapon, his eyes open, focusing on you with the clarity of someone who knows his time is measured in minutes. He's young, maybe younger than Jenkins. Blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of face that should be concerned with university examinations rather than war. Blood seeps from multiple shrapnel wounds, and his breathing comes in short, painful gasps. "Hilfe," he whispers. "Help!" The word stops you cold. Here's your enemy, the person who was trying to kill your friends just moments ago. But he's also someone's son, probably someone's brother. A human being asking for mercy in his final moments. Jenkins appears at the top of the stairs, weapon ready. He sees the wounded German and stops, his rifle wavering between target and rest position. "What do we do?" he asks. Military doctrine is clear. Secure prisoners, provide medical aid if possible, gather intelligence. But practical reality is more complex. You have no medical supplies adequate for the German's injuries, no way to evacuate him, and no time to waste on someone who will likely die regardless. The German's eyes find Jenkins, then return to you. He says something in German, probably a prayer, or maybe just calling for his mother. Universal words that need no translation when death is approaching. You kneel beside him, more from instinct than conscious decision. Up close, his wounds are clearly fatal. Too much blood loss, too much internal damage. The grenade fragments found their mark with lethal efficiency. From your first aid kit, you extract a morphine syringe, one of the small tubes of painkiller that might ease his passage from this world. It's probably more mercy than he would have shown your friends, but that's not the point. The point is maintaining your humanity in a situation designed to destroy it. The injection takes effect quickly. His breathing eases slightly and some of the pain leaves his eyes. He looks at you again, this time with something that might be gratitude. "Danke," he whispers. Minutes later, he's gone. Just another casualty in a war that has already claimed millions. Another young man who will never go home, never finish his education, never marry his sweetheart or raise children who might have made the world a better place. Jenkins helps you search the position. The German had been well equipped for his mission. Extra ammunition, field glasses, maps marked with American positions. Most importantly, radio equipment that would have allowed him to coordinate with other enemy forces. You key your own radio. Base, this is Overwatch. Church is secure, threat eliminated, you're clear to advance. Murphy's response carries relief. Outstanding work. Overwatch. Reform with main body at the church. We're pushing toward the next objective. Through the bell tower windows, you watch Company B emerge from cover positions around the square. Soldiers who had been pinned down by machine gun fire now move freely, advancing toward the next phase of their mission. Your actions in the church directly saved American lives, possibly including Murphy's, but the satisfaction of tactical success is tempered by the sight of the dead German at your feet. War reduces everything to the simplest mathematics. Us versus them. Live or die, kill or be killed. Yet the human heart struggles with calculations that demand the elimination of someone who looks like he should be sitting in a college classroom rather than bleeding out in a French bell tower. First one? Jenkins asks quietly. You nod. Despite all the training, all the preparation, this is your first confirmed kill at close range. Watching someone die because of your direct action carries a weight that distant artillery or machine gun fire somehow doesn't. This was personal, individual, intimate. Gets easier, Jenkins offers, though his voice suggests he's not entirely convinced. You hope he's wrong. The day killing becomes easy is the day you stop being the person your family raised, the person who volunteered to defend freedom because it was the right thing to do. Together, you gather the German equipment that might prove useful and prepare to rejoin the main force. The church battle is over, but the war continues. Holtzwihr is almost secure, but other villages await liberation. Other battles will test your resolve, your skills, your ability to remain human in the midst of inhuman circumstances. As you descend the spiral stairs, leaving the dead German in the bell tower, you carry with you both the satisfaction of mission accomplishment and the burden of necessary violence. Both are part of the soldier's load, as heavy as any equipment and far more permanent. The main body of Company B has formed up in the village square, preparing to advance toward the next objective. Murphy moves among his men, checking equipment, redistributing ammunition, offering encouragement. Despite his youth, his leadership has kept most of you alive through impossible odds. Good work in there, he tells you and Jenkins as you report to his position. Clean, efficient, minimal casualties. That's how we win this thing. But winning, you're beginning to understand, comes at a cost that extends far beyond the tactical situation. Every victory adds weight to the invisible burden that soldiers carry long after the shooting stops. The faces of the dead, enemy and friend alike, become permanent residents in memory's darkest corners. The advance continues through Holtzwir's narrow streets. House by house, room by room, the systematic clearing operation proceeds. Occasionally you encounter evidence of hasty German evacuation, abandoned equipment, half-eaten meals, personal items left behind in the urgency of retreat. In one house you find a German soldier's letters home. Written in careful script on military stationery, they speak of homesickness, fear, and love for someone named Greta. The same emotions that fill your own letters, expressed in different language but carrying identical weight. Jenkins reads over your shoulder, his high school German apparently better than expected. He's telling her about the cold, Jenkins translates. says he dreams of warm summer days and her smile, promises to take her dancing when the war ends. Another reminder that your enemies are human beings with hopes, dreams, and people who love them. The propaganda posters never mention this complexity. They reduce warfare to simple good versus evil, making killing seem righteous and necessary. Maybe it is necessary. Maybe that's the only way civilization survives against those who would destroy it. But necessity doesn't eliminate the cost, and the cost is measured in more than just body counts and tactical objectives. By afternoon, Holzwehr is secure. The German forces have withdrawn eastward, probably to establish new defensive positions closer to the Rhine River. Company B has achieved its objective with relatively light casualties, a testament to Murphy's leadership and the hard-won experience of veterans who have learned to survive in conditions that would have destroyed them months earlier. But survival is relative. The Jenkins who entered Holzwehr this morning is not the same person who will sleep in a foxhole tonight. Combat changes people in ways that can't be measured or quantified. It strips away illusions, reveals character, and asks questions that peacetime never poses. As evening approaches, you find yourself back in a fighting position at the edge of the village, watching the road for any sign of German counterattack. The routine is familiar now. Prepare defences, establish fields of fire, settle in for another long, cold night. Jenkins occupies the foxhole to your left, cleaning his rifle with the methodical care that keeps weapons functional in harsh conditions. His movements are more confident now, less hesitant. He's beginning to develop the unconscious competence that marks veteran soldiers. "Think we'll make it home?" he asks during a quiet moment. The question hangs in the cold air between you. Statistically, infantry soldiers in Company B face poor odds of surviving the war intact. Too many battles ahead, too many opportunities for bad luck or enemy marksmanship to find their mark. "Don't know," you answer honestly, "but we made it through today. That's something. It's not much comfort, but it's all you have to offer." In this business, survival is measured in increments. The next hour, the next day, the next battle. Long-term planning is a luxury that soldiers can't afford. The sun sets behind the trees, painting the snow-covered landscape in shades of orange and red. Beautiful colours that seem to mock the violence they illuminate. War and beauty coexist in ways that confuse the mind and burden the soul. Tonight, you'll stand watch in 2-hour shifts, eyes straining to penetrate darkness for any sign of enemy movement. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Another village to clear, another group of desperate Germans willing to die rather than surrender, another test of your ability to kill when necessary and remain human afterward. But that's tomorrow's burden. Tonight, there's only the immediate present, the weight of your rifle, the cold seeping through multiple layers of clothing, the steady breathing of Jenkins in the next position, and the eternal vigilance that keeps soldiers alive in a world determined to kill them. One breath at a time, one heartbeat at a time, one moment at a time, carrying each other through the darkness until dawn brings whatever new trials await. In the distance, artillery rumbles like thunder from a storm that never ends. Other units, other battles, other young men learning the terrible lessons that war teaches. The sound has become so constant that silence would seem strange, unnatural, almost threatening. You adjust your position slightly, finding that small spot where the frozen ground doesn't actively assault your spine. Your hands, despite gloves and careful attention, have progressed beyond cold to a numbness that makes weapon manipulation more difficult with each passing day. Yet somehow, impossibly, your eyelids grow heavy. Exhaustion claims victory over discomfort, as it always does when soldiers have pushed their bodies beyond normal endurance. Sleep comes fitfully, interrupted by the sounds of war and the dreams of a home that seem more distant with each passing day. But sleep comes nonetheless, carrying you away from the frozen foxhole into memories of warmth, safety, and the faces of people who love you despite the terrible things you've had to do to stay alive. And in sleeping, you find the strength to wake tomorrow and do it all again. Because that's what soldiers do when civilization needs defending and freedom hangs in the balance. One day at a time, one battle at a time, one step at a time toward whatever peace awaits on the far side of war. The story continues, as it must, as it always has when young people shoulder the burden of protecting what matters most. Their courage writes the pages of history in languages that can only be understood by those who have stood in similar darkness, carrying similar loads, moving towards similar uncertain dawns. But they move forward nonetheless, because someone must, because the alternative is unthinkable, and because somewhere in the distance, beyond the artillery and the cold and the fear, lies a future worth fighting for.